On August 29th, 1952, David Tudor gave a piano recital full of contemporary music at the Maverick Concert Hall in Woodstock, New York. One of the pieces of music on that program instructed the pianist to be tacit for the entire work, or in other words, not make a sound. The only performance that happened during this work was the pianist opening and closing the lid to his keyboard to mark the beginning and endings of the 3 movements. And that was it. If you're not familiar with it, the name of this piece is 433, composed by John Cage. 433 is roughly the length of time in minutes and seconds that the piece should last. The exact timing of each movement is up in the air, but here are some performance suggestions. So here's the question: is that music? Should what happened in that concert hall and in every other performance of this piece be considered music? Well, the audience at that first performance was not very happy, to say the least. Even though they were there to hear contemporary music, and they were probably quite open-minded when it came to the avant-garde, the Woodstock audience considered 433 either a joke or an affront. But music critic Kyle Mann called it one of the most misunderstood pieces of music of all time. So clearly he thought differently. But who is right here? The composer and the critic, or the audience? Who has the authority to decide what is music and what is not? The point of 433 was to listen to the sounds of the environment and the audience, and that was the whole substance of the music. But if the audience didn't know that that was the point, what were they supposed to think? To be honest, if I paid to watch a piano recital and the pianist came out and didn't play at all, I wouldn't be happy either. And even if the audience did understand the point of the piece, should this still be considered music? To be able to make a decision on whether or not something is music, we should first probably try to establish an actual definition, something that is quite a bit more difficult than it sounds. Here's the definition from Google AI, which of course is the most reliable research you can do. Vocal or instrumental sounds, or both, combined in such a way as to produce beauty of form, harmony, and expression of emotion. But already this one has some holes because there's plenty of music that uses sound samples of things that were not produced by the voice or instruments. Not to mention that all music is beautiful. Some of it is meant to be ugly or terrifying. I wouldn't call most horror movie music beautiful. Here's a version that's a little better. And here's another from Cambridge that adds computer sounds into the mix. And you can find many more examples of definitions that are similar to this with 1 or 2 other stipulations. But according to all 3 of these definitions, 433 would not be considered music. It breaks parts of each definition, but the biggest part it violates is that it's not organized or intentional. Any sounds happening during 433 are unintentional and random. But if disorganization disqualifies something from being music, then that also disqualifies another entire genre of music out there. Chance music, or aleatoric music, is a genre where the score is not set, and parts or all of the performance are dependent on chance or randomness. This chance can be decided from anything from a dice roll to decisions of the musicians themselves. Terry Riley's In C comes to mind first. This piece is made up of 53 separate melodic fragments that a group of musicians move through as they play the piece. The randomness comes from the fact that when the musicians move from one cell to another, it's completely up to them, and they all make these decisions individually. So player 1 could be playing cell 1, while player 2 is playing cell 3, while player 3 is playing cell 4, etc. And this will become more and more complex depending on how many musicians are on stage. And what this ultimately means is that every version of In C is going to be different than every other version. The decisions that the individual musicians will make will always be different in every performance. And as far as organization goes, it may be considered organized chaos from the musicians and the composer's perspective, but from the side of the audience, if they don't understand the melodic fragments and the way that the piece is structured, they aren't going to have a clue as to what is going on and probably won't be able to follow any of it. So, is this music? I'll give my opinion later, but according to the definitions we have, it's at least a gray area. And is this more or less music than John Cage's 433? My gut says more, but let's look at a few more examples of edge cases. 433 is not the only piece that John Cage wrote that stretches the definition of music. He actually seemed to be somewhat of a master at doing that. Another piece that he wrote I find very interesting is called Organ 2, As Slow as Possible. And just as the title suggests, this piece is meant to last as long as you can make it last. But how slow can music get before it's no longer music and it's just isolated random sounds that have no relationship to each other? The length of performances of this piece vary greatly. There have been performances performances that range from 20 minutes to a few hours to just over a day. And even though it would be tough, in theory, you could sit and watch a 24-hour performance in one sitting, and you would be able to connect all those notes together as one piece of music. But how long until this idea breaks? Right now, there's a performance of As Slow as Possible happening that started in 2001 and is set to end in 2640. So the length of this performance will be 639 years, meaning that there are actual years between one note and the next. There is a distance of 1 year and 5 months between the first and second sounds in this performance. Is this still music? Let's say you were walking by the Halberstadt Cathedral and you happen to hear a chord coming from the organ as part of the performance, but you have no idea about the grand 600-year plan. All you hear is a noise. Should that be considered music to you? Is a bell on a clock tower that strikes once an hour music that stretches over a 24-hour period, or is it just individual sounds that can't be connected because of how far apart they are? Now imagine instead of the sounds being an hour apart, they're years apart. Yes, As Slow as Possible is organized, yes, it's intentional, and yes, it's even being produced by a musical instrument, but it exists on such a large time scale that we will all be dead before it finishes, and there is so much space between one impulse of the music and another, it's hard to say that they are one cohesive unit. Someone should calculate the BPM of that. But is this closer to music than the other two examples? This whole idea kind of reminds me of that PETA sign where you draw the line on what animals are friends and what animals are food. Maybe a little morbid, but it's the best that I can think of. Just replace the animals with these weird compositions. Where do you draw the line? And what is that all the way at the end, even past 433? There's a genre of music out there known as danger music, and this genre is defined by the idea that some pieces of music can or will harm the listener or performer. The pioneer of this genre was a man named Dick Higgins who wrote a piece called Danger Music. And again, this isn't music in the normal sense. Danger music is just a series of text scores that is just a set of instructions given to performers to do absurd and dangerous actions, some of them involving a musical instrument, others not. Here's a performance of Danger Music number 17. Is this music? Or how about number 15? What about number 9 or number 24? According to the composer, this is music. I mean, it's in the name. But is it? So what I've been doing here is giving you a bunch of edge cases that blur the line. We can probably all agree that Beethoven is music, that Miles Davis is music, and even Taylor Swift is music. Even if we don't care for one of these genres or artists, we can at least agree that they produce music. But what I don't think everyone is going to agree on is where that line is, when something goes from being music to not being music. My line is here. But that doesn't make it correct. It's really just an opinion. Is 433 in Danger Music really music? In my opinion, no. It's something. You could call it a performance art, but I struggle to call it music. Is John Cage's As Long as Possible music? Yes, I think so, because it has all the elements I look for, and it could be condensed down into a single digestible performance. But I could see the argument in the other direction as well. It's pretty murky. It reminds me of something similar that happens in art, something like a tiny dot on a canvas that is framed in an art museum. You could view that in two ways. Either it's a profound statement on what art is and makes the viewer question their beliefs, or it's a stupid drop of paint on a page that anybody could produce and thus is worthless. But either opinion could probably be valid with the right argument. Let me know in the comments, where is your line? I'm looking forward to the arguments.